Okay, with Bethany Yoder, Bob's Burger Spec script, Word to the Pennywise, is the script that she won at our festival, fan fiction festival. I love the idea. I love the concept of this film where Louise trades 1,000 pennies for a $10 bill, and then she realizes that wait a minute, the 1,000 pennies might be worth more than $10. And it's sort of like because in Canada we got rid of our pennies. So
Okay.
we have
Yeah,
no more pennies in Canada, but
that's amazing.
because it's sort of so basically if things get rounded up. So say it's like 252 the charge,
Yeah.
it goes back to 250, and if it say it's 253, it goes to 255.
Oh my gosh, I didn't. So I have Canadian pennies. Are they valuable now to me, or are they not valuable at all?
Well, give it 20 years, put them in a vault, and maybe 20 years from now I think they're still circulating. I think everybody has pennies
uh,
like like 2 feet away from me, right? You can see my penny jar, right?
there you go. Yeah.
Like we all have this, right? So I don't know if the value, it's about supply and demand, right? So
Right.
yeah,
I totally hear that.
but I don't even know if I can go to the bank and turn those in, right? So who knows?
Yeah, like
But
what are these?
but I but in the States, it's like I've actually done some research about it. I don't know if you did, but they're still going to make the penny, and it's a political situation, right? Where it's a job thing. Like there's a factory that they're making pennies that they don't want to, even though that it doesn't make sense now because nobody
Right.
really has money anymore, and like pennies are, yeah. But so anyways, I
Yes.
love the concept that you did.
No, thank you. Yeah, I should know. I think a lot of people in America aren't a fan of pennies. I know my brother throws them away. Like he's like, I don't want this anymore. It's for the same reason. What can you buy for a penny these days? But I think the neat thing about Bob's Burgers is it's a show that's kind of encapsulated in kind of an older vibe. There's a lot of like 80s, 90s references, sometimes earlier. And so I think, I was actually pulling from my childhood when I used to roll coins and do stuff like that because I've seen things on the show that mirror my childhood. So I was like, I could probably pull from that. So that's kind of where that vibe came from. But yeah, just kind of ran from there.
Okay, so you're a big fan of the show,
Yes.
one would assume. So you've seen every episode, kind of,
Yeah.
I'm assuming, multiple times.
Yeah, definitely.
And then what made you decide, okay, I'm going to write a spec? Because sometimes you get too close to the fandom, right? Where like
Yeah.
you see with like with like people who are fans of Star Trek, for example, where like
Yeah.
they are Doctor Who, they know too much. It's almost like they know too much. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, that totally makes sense because I think, I found even myself when I was writing it, I was like, does this make sense with other things that have happened in the story? Have they already covered this? Those sorts of things. So it's definitely a concern because you want to do it justice because you love the show so much. Um, but I think in terms of watching the show and knowing kind of what I wanted to write, it wasn't actually as difficult as I thought it was going to be because I was able to luckily quickly fall into that pattern of, oh, this is Tina, this is Louise, this is the situations that they're in. um, in the spirit of full disclosure, am a new screenwriter. So one of the reasons why I chose to write Bob's Burgers was because I wanted practice in something that I thought I knew. So it gave me a great opportunity to kind of practice, fade in and flashback and all those sorts of things while really grounding it in something that I was familiar with. So
So you have to create an original story. Like, I'm just giving people like a backdrop. You have to get
yeah,
for a fan fiction script. You have to write original story based on a television show that can't change the characters too much
right,
because it's got to stay in the universe, and it's not your job to make Bob like cheat on his wife, right? You're not going to do
right, yeah,
that. But so basically, but then you have to know the characters, and then you have to basically follow the structure from the plot point standpoint, meaning that there's usually multiple plots. There's an A plot, B plot, sometimes C
correct,
plot in the
yeah.
series, right?
Yeah, definitely. The writers of the show are masters at that, at putting, the kids are doing something, Bob and Linda are doing something, maybe, Mr. Fish Yoder or Teddy are doing something.
Yeah.
They're really good at kind of marrying all those storylines together.
And
So
thematically, they generally have to tie together, right?
yeah, exactly. That's exactly a good point. Yeah, it's not like they're just obscure things. Like there's this central theme that they're feeding into from different perspectives.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a challenge as well. Trying to be like, how do I get all these things to work together and have that cohesion?
So how did you do it then? Like, so basically did you like map out before you started
Yeah.
writing, map out the story beats?
Yeah, definitely. So I use Final Draft software, and they have this really cool kind of beat board outline editor thing. So I basically started putting things together, being like, I know in general, this is kind of what I want to happen in the story. I want to have, Louise dealing with this penny crisis, and then kind of built from there. So I wish I could say that I was good enough to be like, this is scene 1, 2, 3, but that was definitely not the case. I definitely had Louise's kind of arc done first, and then try to figure out how best to fit Bob and Teddy into it after that. Um, Going back on it now, like I wish there was more Linda. I love Linda; she's an amazing character. But for the situation and theme and tone that I was working with, I felt Bob and Teddy were the best kind of B story for that. So that's how I did that.
And so it feels like a television. It feels like an episode of the series. I guess that's the highest compliment.
It is. I am like truly honored to hear that, because again, I love the show so much. So to hear that I can like kind of capture that, or might have captured that, feels very good for sure.
Yeah, I remember. When did you first started watching Bob's Burger? Do you remember?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Trying to do the math here. Probably like 5 or 6 years ago. So I came in the middle of the series. I was not from the beginning kind of person. I was actually watching a Family Guy episode, and Bob's Burgers just kind of rolled on right afterwards.
Gotcha.
And I'd never seen it before. I kind of heard about it, but wasn't super familiar with it. But the first episode I saw, I wish I could remember which one it was, and I can't. But it got me to the point where I binged the whole rest of the night, because I was like, this is just such a great show. This is such a cool family. Like the stuff that they do and go through, again, mirrored a lot of my childhood, and stuff that I had seen. So I really connected with the characters, and kind of the sweetness that the family had. Like Family Guy is a funny show, but they're not a sweet
They're
family.
cool. Yeah.
They're definitely doing horrible things to each other. Whereas on Bob's Burgers, they might do some like pranks and stuff like that, but their focus really is on their family and kind of surviving the world around them. So I just thought that was so neat, and have been watching it, faithfully ever since.
Yeah, we're like Family Guy is like I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the new episodes in a while, but I used to be a big fan of the show. And it basically, but it's very much like setting up jokes, right? Where it's
Yes.
like it's cold in a sense where like we're just here for laughs. And then
Yeah.
and there's some genius kind of like parallels to our society that they were good at. But Bob's Burgers is an emotional journey, right? They're
Yeah.
like they love each other. The family loves each other.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's a really astute point about Family Guy. I think that's exactly right. But I think that's one of the reasons I was pulled into that show, was the jokes. So, like, these are just so clever, and they hit at political themes and kind of what society's dealing with. But then that's also why I really like Bob's Burgers, because I felt they were able to. They don't ever really do anything super political. I shouldn't say that, but like their jokes are funny and timely and still resonate, despite being maybe less pointed. So
No, because it's got to be thick. Because I'm going on these rabbit holes of like old comedies,
yeah,
and in some like this is before your time, but there was a show called Golden Girls. I don't know if you heard of it.
I am familiar. Yes.
And it's like I know the 80s references because I
Uh-huh.
was brought up in that time, but
Yeah.
nobody in this generation is going to know half the jokes on that show because it's basically it's making jokes about that era, right?
Right.
Whereas, like, if you watch Mary Tyler Moore's show, for example, it's a
Yeah.
timeless show because the jokes are the situations,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think again that's what Bob's Burgers does well. But if I
Yeah,
can
that's
also note,
exactly, yeah.
they totally have a lot of references to, like I said, 80s and 90s things too. I think they've even made Golden Girls references on there too. So
Yeah.
it's really nice, because it hits home to those people who have those kind of fandoms too. It's like, oh, they get it.
But you don't have to know the reference to get the
Yes.
joke. That's the
No,
genius of that writing, right? So
definitely.
yeah. And if
Definitely.
you do, then it's just another funny thing, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's like the Marvel movie where like there's these comic book fans are like seeing a different movie and they're laughing. I have no idea what they're laughing about because I
Yeah.
don't know the story, but I'm
I get
watching
you.
the action, watching the plots, but there's another layer, I guess, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, we go all the way back to Shakespeare with that, right? There was like different levels in terms of storytelling. Like one group will understand one thing, another group will understand the other, but everyone enjoys it. So
so I don't know if you're a football fan, but what they do is that Fox has football, right? The
yeah,
NFL, and all they're doing is plugging their shows
right.
during the games, right? And so when Bob's Burgers first came out, this guy Joe Buck, he's a famous broadcaster. he's plugging the show, and then they just move on to the game, right? But he starts talking about, oh yeah, I got the screener. It's like Bob's Burger. It's like you got to watch Bob's Burgers. It's like he never does this. I'm like, why is Joe Buck talking about Bob's Burgers during 3rd and 15 during the
Right.
Eagles game, whatever, right? And it's like I'm like, I guess I have to watch the show now because he's promoting it so much, and that's how I got into it. So that's
That's how
why.
you, okay, that's cool. I like to hear people's stories for how they found it, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah, no, because
everyone's
it was like
something different.
it's like because like it was just so random that he's talking about this like obscure comedy show, right? So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But now we live in a different era because like you're talking about how Family Guy ran into Bob's Burgers.
Mm-hmm.
I know we still have network television, but generally speaking, people are binge watching the show like you know, right? So
Yep, definitely. Streaming is a curse, but also a beautiful thing.
but how do we get like, but then your story is like it doesn't resonate anymore, right? Like nobody runs into a show anymore.
That's true. That's a really good point. I never thought of. I mean, I guess there is still some, YouTube TV and Hulu. I think they do kind of still have programming like that, but it is kind of an archaic reference. I'll give you that.
Yeah, like the show and like so basically, because I think it would anger people. Like, say Netflix is like, oh, you just finished watching Ozark, and then
Right.
it's like, oh, now you can watch whatever show. You know what I mean? I'm trying to use like
Yeah.
Mirror's a Gate, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like they're gonna run into that show. They're like, the people are gonna get mad. It's like I didn't want show.
Yeah. We don't have to worry about losing the first 5 minutes because something ran over or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Different time.
So you said that you referenced that you're just starting out in writing scripts.
Yep. Yep. New to it for sure.
When did you start writing?
So I wrote a very, very small movie, like 5 minute script about a year or so ago, just kind of trying to get my feet wet into it because I knew that I was interested in screenwriting, but it wasn't something that I had ever really done before. And then between that time and when I wrote this script, I kind of delved deep into learning how to write scripts and how that works. I read a lot of screenplays, got a lot of books on it and stuff like that because I'm not educated in it formally, and I wanted to put my best foot forward. So that flash forwards to about January or February of this year,
Oh wow.
when I found your contest. And I was like, I really want to try to do this. This is so cool. It's something I know and love. And so I worked on it there. And so it's really been hardcore this past few months, I would say.
Have you written? Are you starting writing original like original series or?
Yeah. So I actually just about a week and a half ago finished my first pilot for 1 hour drama. I'm really excited about. There's other contests out there and stuff that I'm trying to enter and, figure out what I'm doing because it's again very new to me. So, but I would say writing is definitely consuming most of my time, so that I can practice and build a portfolio. So.
Did you always like? Did you always like secretly? Did you always want to write? Like
Yeah. I think I just was like trying to tell myself that I didn't for a really long time because I went to school actually for psychology. So I have a couple degrees in psychology.
it's the same
Ended up
thing,
doing
right?
yeah, right. It actually feeds in really, really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, my advanced degree is in forensic psychology. So I spent a few years kind of working within the field of forensic psychology, but there are always kind of these like whispers, in the back of my head being like, you like TV, you like movies. Why don't you, do this? And I distinctly remember actually this one point in undergrad where I was like walking through one of my halls and there was a picture actually for, I don't know why it would have been there, but it was an advertisement for New York Film Academy, like in my school, which we were not a film school. So I'm like, why is that a poster for another school here? Like, it's very weird.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking to myself, that would be so great to, do film and be a part of it. But I was like, you're a girl from Ohio. Like, that's not really something that's going to pay off very well for you unless you want to move to LA or New York and that sort of stuff. But long story short, too late, I know. I got to a point where I was like, I really want to do this. This makes me happy. I enjoy it. So I kind of tried to transition into that more fully. So.
That's amazing. So you're not working in psychology now?
Yeah, so I do a little bit of consulting or assisting. So the company that I was working for, I still help them with some stuff administratively from time to time. But my focus, I told myself I really wanted this. So I was like, read, do as much as you can in this field, as long as you can, and work it until it works. So I'm at the work it till it works stage, I guess.
And what about your community or your family? They're supportive of what you're doing?
Yeah, so only a small portion of my family actually knows that I'm doing it. So like my nuclear family is aware of it, but my more extended family I haven't told yet. So eventually I hope to be successful and kind of explain that to them. Otherwise, I think they'd probably look at me and be like, "You had a good job. Why are you doing this?" And it's like, well, because you live once, and this is what I want to do. So
You said you're from whereabouts in Ohio are you from?
so I'm in the like Central Ohio, Columbus area.
Okay.
So yeah, we're known mostly for football here.
Ohio State, I heard of them, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Black Hole College, right? That is actually my alma mater, so I should be more respectful. But yeah, so we're not
You
known for
don't
a
like
ton of them.
Michigan. You're anti-Michigan.
Ironically, my brother is a huge fan. I'm like, you live in Columbus. Are you a huge fan of Michigan? But that's just him being obstinate, I suppose. But
He just
yeah, we're
wants
not
to be
known for.
different, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. We're not known for a ton of film things here, but maybe that'll grow at some point, or I'll move. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But yeah, Ohio State. I've talked to a couple of people from Ohio State who made films. So
Yay, represent.
yeah, but Michigan is beating you in the filmmaking. If you're interested in knowing, right? So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, that's one thing about this because again, I am new to the field, but like I love learning everything about it. So I love knowing where all these like hubs are, and we actually have a film festival here in Columbus. I was totally unaware about until this past year. So I think it's just cool to see what people are doing outside of places like LA and New York because like we all have talent. We're just trying to make it work where we're at. So.
well, it's a new world now. That's you can do
Yeah.
like we're talking now, right? You can enter contests and yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
So your goal is, I'm assuming your goal is you got the spec under your belt, you got some awards, you got your TV pilot. Are you going to write like so you're building up your resume, you're building up
Yes.
your body of work, I guess.
Yeah. So the point right now is to really just try and have things ready. Some of the things that I've entered or places that I'm trying to network with could possibly work to getting like agents and that sort of stuff, or just exposure, which is again why I really appreciate you having me on here today to kind of expose to things. But yeah, my main goal is just building up as much as I can. So if someone is ready, then I'm like, hey, what are you interested in? This is what I have.
Exactly,
So,
that's what it's about. So
yeah.
then I guess my suggestion for you is do a half-hour pilot, like a comedy.
Yeah.
Because it seems like that's your wheelhouse. Well, you got the spec, right? So you understand humor, and then maybe tackle a feature. I don't know if you have something in mind.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. I think that's a perfect pathway to be going into. So I will
Then
definitely
you got
heed
your
your
body of
advice.
work. You got your examples of your talents. So
I'm sorry, it just broke up. Can you say it one more time?
I said you got your examples of your talent,
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely.
Because a feature film is all about the ending, right? Where like because the pilot is you're hooking the audience to watch the next episode, right? So but the art of the feature film is that you got to conclude your story. You got to basically all your plot points got to merge to the end, right? So
oh yeah, no, I would love to write a feature film. That's actually what I wanted to do to begin with, but I was like, hitting all of the beats at the right times and stuff like that. I was like, oh boy, I'm not doing this right. So it's definitely something I aspire to do someday for sure.
yeah. Do you have because you on your blog interview you said that Die Hard and Here Comes Mr. Jordan, which that's the first time I heard that one, but it's a good movie. But that's not your favorite movies, it's just the movies that you happen to see the most.
Yeah. I do love Die Hard, but yeah, that's definitely the one I've seen the most. I even reference it in my screenplay. I think I put Through Hans Gruber in there, so it's definitely an amazing film for sure.
No, but it's a good film from a nerd standpoint to like really break down that plot of that film.
Yeah,
because it's a really well written script.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh yeah, I know I've read a few kind of analytics on it where people talk about like it's the perfect either 3-act structure or 4 acts depending on how you like where you decide to divide the 3rd act up. But yeah it's a perfect film, I think, when it comes to actually understanding how act structures work and kind of American cinema for sure.
Yeah, no, and then basically, but there's not much action in the film. There's action in the film, of course, but it's an action film, quote unquote. But it's really just this guy who loves his wife, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's exactly then he got crazy with the sequels, right? Because he was like, he's not a common man anymore. He's like,
no, he's John McClane.
What was the one film? He's like taking down a whole airplane, right? Like fighter jet by himself. It's like, okay, so the common man is gone now, right?
Yeah. This is no longer reality in any way, shape, or form.
but but the basis staying alone, Die Hard is like, yeah. Even the second one's a pretty good movie too. I like this. I think the second one's underrated as well. So
yeah, I used to not be a fan of the second movie. I was like 1 and 3. I was there for it, super excited. And then I recently, like within a couple years ago, rewatched the second one. I was like, this is a good freaking movie. I don't know why I didn't like it when I was younger. It's especially the moment where oh man, I'm forgetting the Colonel's name, but the baddie in the movie, he calls into one of the planes and tells him, "Oh no, you're clear for landing. Go lower, go." And then you're like,
yeah.
"Oh, he's gonna kill these people." I was like, such a good moment. Like it's so good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, there's more than one villain too in the film, right? So there's
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, congratulations on the success of the script.
Thank
It's
you.
really great to talk to you. And yeah, you're on your way. So keep writing and keep making stuff, and let's keep in touch.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you again for the, whole screenplay and the feedback and this interview, all of it. I will encourage everybody I know to participate in this because it was definitely a cool competition and it's a really rewarding experience. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you. All right, let's touch base soon.
All right, have a good one.